So today I'm going to be brutally honest about some of my flaws. Basically, the mistakes that I know I've made in the past, but continue to make over and over again. Some of them are light fun, maybe a little relatable, and some of them are a little bit more serious and something for me to think about. This isn't about me sort of putting myself down or trying to feel super bad about myself. I'm more making this video to normalize the fact that a lot of us make mistakes and then continue to make those mistakes over and over again. So included in this video are some of the mistakes that I thought of that I keep doing, but I also asked my sister, what mistakes have you noticed that I've made that I keep making? And she was honest with me and gave me some feedback about kind of some of the mistakes I make or even that she makes. And so I'll add those two to the end, so stick around for that. With that in mind, I just want to say some of these things I'm working on, I'm thinking about. Others of these, maybe I just need to accept as part of me and that it's okay. I don't have to have it all together. I don't have to work on all aspects of myself all the time. And yeah, we're just being real here. This is day 3 hair. Not looking my best today necessarily, but we're diving right in. The first mistake I keep making over and over again is putting my sunglasses into a bag or purse without any kind of case. They all have scratches all over them, to the point where when I put them on, you can kind of see the scratches. Really messes with the vibe. And I've even bought an easy-to-use case to try to manage this, but I just don't end up using it. And I've realized that if I keep them in a case, then I'm less likely to wear the sunglasses because they're more effort to take out. I'm eventually accepting this as one of the ones that maybe I just will never get good at. Does anyone else do this and have a hard time with scratches on your sunglasses? Let me know if you have a solution of any kind. But that mistake is one that may be here to stay. A second mistake I continue to make is not always making my bed in the morning. Now, I actually have a lot of thoughts about this one because I think this is a popular topic for a lot of people on YouTube as like ways to get on top of your life or to stay organized or to start your day off on the right foot. Quite often, I just don't get around to making my bed. And I will say in my defense, part of it is that I use a comforter on my bed. It doesn't look that disheveled or horrible if I don't perfectly make it. But I'll admit, it is nice when I do make my bed. It feels better when I go to bed at night. I see the positives. I see why people are into that. But I also think that there is a little bit of potential toxicity around this concept that I feel like people go so far as to say, if you don't make your bed in the morning, then you're just gonna have a bad day, essentially is the messaging I receive from a lot of different people. And I just don't think that's the case. Like if that is one of my flaws, that I just don't tend to always make my bed, that doesn't mean that I'm going to do everything else wrong for the rest of the day. It doesn't mean that I can't be productive. It doesn't mean that I'm not organized in other ways. I think that as humans, we can't be disciplined and perfect in every single aspect of our lives. And the idea that if we don't make our bed, it means that we're probably not doing well elsewhere is misguided. And it also then creates shame and guilt when we aren't on top of that area of our lives, so that then there's this self-fulfilling prophecy where on days you don't make your bed, you feel kind of bad about yourself. You feel like, wow, I just can't stay on top of anything. Also, I just want to make it clear, it's not as if I'm telling you you should not make your bed or you should not care about that if that is a priority for you. Sometimes I think those things matter to some people more than others, so I totally get it. If you just really like to have your bed made and it makes you feel good in the morning, I support you. That is awesome. I'm just saying, I don't think I need to always do that to feel like I'm able to accomplish things in my day. Another mistake I keep making is failing to respond to emails that don't have a clear deadline or maybe aren't that important. I just tend to procrastinate those emails, and sometimes I'll kick them down the road day after day and wait to respond. And that is something I have been working on. It's something I think I've improved, but ultimately sometimes if there isn't a clear deadline or it isn't really important that I get back about it soon, sometimes I'll wait a little too long. And I think that that can be both rude to other people, it can make things more difficult, it can make my life more complicated because then as I get behind, I forget about the emails I need to respond to. So I don't know, that's something that I think probably a lot of people deal with, but just wanted to acknowledge here that I'm not always on top of that. Maybe to normalize it if you deal with that too. Okay, so I want to take a quick break here to talk about the sponsor of this video, but let me just say the sponsor of this video is the opposite of a mistake. Native has just my favorite deodorant and shower care products. They have such a full range of scents that anyone can find one that they love. Most recently, Native sent me the body wash in lilac and white tea. This is actually my favorite scent of the moment because it's a little bit floral, but not over the top. It's still kind of subtle. It's honestly soothing just to smell it. They also sent me the deodorant in eucalyptus and mint, and the Native deodorant and body spray in the cucumber and mint. The classic deodorant is long-lasting. It provides up to 72 hours of odor protection. It's aluminum-free and paraben-free. It has clean, simple, and effective ingredients like coconut oil and shea butter. And what's important to me is that the texture isn't sticky and it feels dry while applying. And then there's the body wash, which also has clean, effective, and simple ingredients. It's phthalate and dye-free, vegan and cruelty-free, made with plant-based cleansers, and it leaves your skin feeling so soft and hydrated. It froths up into this luxurious lather. It also makes a great addition to any bubble bath. And then I have to say this deodorant and body spray is kind of the catch-all product in that you can use it as a deodorant or kind of a fragrance spray because it smells so good. It applies as light as air. It has a cooling light mist that dries on contact, leaving you smelling great and fresh feeling. It provides instant odor protection. And again, it's aluminum, paraben-free, vegan, and cruelty-free, all the good stuff. One other thing I want to mention about scents is that this is a fun time of year because Native recently launched its holiday collection. This year they're featuring candy cane, sugar cookie, fresh mistletoe, and spiked eggnog. Some really fun scents I know I'm gonna wanna try. Anyway, I just wanna emphasize that I genuinely use these products all the time. I love them, they really work, and they truly are, in my opinion, the best smelling on the market. You can get your bestsellers pack today, so those 3 items I talked about, normally $36, but if you use my link and code SliceOfLight2, you can get your deodorant, body wash, and deodorant and body spray for only $24. That's 33% off. Anyway, thanks to Native for partnering with me, and let's get back to the rest of the video. Another mistake I've made and continue to make is not canceling subscriptions right away. And basically, I have even talked on this channel before about the strategy of only keeping your subscription to maybe the streaming platform that you actively use the most currently, and then canceling the others and then switching it as you switch through shows. I think that's a great concept, and honestly, I do that, but to be honest, I'm not as on top of it as I should be. Just the other day, I canceled Peacock again because I had that, but I realized I hadn't used it for several months, honestly, and I had just continued to pay for it. And I think that's a good example of a simple way to save money that I should have been more on top of, but I failed to do that. And one thing I noticed in canceling the subscription was that it's so easy. It is not difficult to do, and it can really save you a lot of money, especially if you have numerous subscriptions you're canceling or it's over the course of a long period of time. So I don't know, I just got to be real. Sometimes I'm bad about that, and I want to be better about that. I should really every month, maybe on the first or last day of the month, just check through what are my subscriptions, both for streaming services, but also other kind of like donation services or other kind of podcast services. What do I actually want to keep paying for? What are my priorities, and what can I let go? Another mistake that I have made that sometimes I make even now is being inconsistent about my physical activity and working out. And this one is a little scary to talk about and open up about online, but luckily I really like the community here and I feel safe enough to talk about it. Honestly, I'm not always consistent about working out. It's like sometimes I'll go for a few months where I'm really on top of it and I'm working out 3 or 4 or maybe even more times a week, and I feel healthy and I feel good. But then there are months where I just am not on top of it. It's not as if I get no physical activity. I do try to take walks, especially because I live in a really beautiful neighborhood and I enjoy walking through the neighborhood or walking around a nearby lake. Honestly, I say this knowing that the vast majority of people are struggling with this too. So according to a study done by the CDC, only 28% of people are meeting the guidelines that they have set for the amount that you should be working out each week. Which, let me just read to you, is, according to this Forbes article, that adults should spend at least 150 minutes per week doing aerobic exercises at a moderate intensity and spend 2 days a week doing a muscle strengthening activity like lifting weights, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. And of course, sometimes these guidelines might apply differently to different people, and usually I see them as an oversimplification, but I'm just going to be honest that I'm not always doing that, and I'm not alone. In fact, like I mentioned, a study found that 72% of people are not meeting those guidelines, at least based on their study. And that is a lot of people. That is far more than even a majority. It is the vast majority. Almost 3/4 of people are not meeting those guidelines. And I think why I'm pointing this out is just I feel like there's so much shame around physical activity and not getting enough in. While I do think that sometimes a little bit of anxiety about it, a little bit of reminder that this is important can help kind of get you going with it. But I also think that far more often it's internalized as a lot of shame and that we need to hide that we're not working out as much as we should all the time. And I feel like when it becomes shameful, when it gets to that certain point, then it probably decreases the likelihood that you're going to go out and actually be active and maybe get the exercise that you should really be getting. And I think for me, a way to help myself work out more when I do go through those periods where I'm working out more is to find things that I genuinely enjoy, like being in nature when I'm doing something physical, or listening to a podcast that I thoroughly enjoy that engages my mind while I'm working out, or even doing something kind of silly like playing some music I like and dancing around when I'm alone. Sometimes those types of things engage me more and help me work out more. And I also think, as one side note, constantly talking about your workout regimen can be a little alienating to people who deal with a disability or something like that. I know sometimes I really struggle hearing about other people's workouts, at least in great detail, now that I have MS and just can't do what maybe I would like to be able to do. I sometimes feel a little isolated in those conversations, and I don't know, I just want to normalize that that's a reaction you might have too. Okay, that was a long one, but let me keep going because I have some others here. Another mistake I make is that I'm often bad at responding promptly to friends' texts or phone calls. And again, I think this one's very normal. I think we all struggle with this at times, but I just feel like I often really struggle with it. Like I am that friend who is just bad at keeping in touch, even with people that I really deeply care about and value in my life. I'm thinking about it, but if any of you also have ideas for how to stay more on top of that, let me know, because that is important to me, but I just am not always on top of it, and I do feel some guilt about that. Okay, so that was some of my list, but I also asked my sister about what she thought were mistakes that I continue to make, and I think she was also thinking about herself a little bit and had some ideas. Let's get into the ones she mentioned to me. Thanks, Erica, for doing this for me. The first example she gave was making the mistake of constantly assessing what I should be doing at social gatherings. So essentially, you know that feeling when you're at some kind of social event, say a wedding, and there are all these different conversations happening around you. Maybe there's the dance floor, maybe there's a bonfire, maybe there are just clusters of conversations, and you're trying to determine how to spend your time, and you're thinking, oh, I want to talk to my old friends that I haven't seen for years, or oh, I want to meet friends of the bride and groom that I've never met before. And you're constantly juggling that thought in your head. And even while you're in a conversation, you're worried about, am I spending too much time in this conversation? Should I shut this down and then move on to the next people? And my sister was essentially saying how she feels like she does this a lot. And she said how she did something different at a wedding she went to recently, where instead of thinking about what she should be doing, should she switch to going on the dance floor, should she talk to somebody else, she just accepted, I'm just going to accept what I'm doing as it is and kind of commit. And she enjoyed herself so much more. And she still talked to a lot of people. She still enjoyed a lot of different facets of the wedding, but somehow it reduced stress and she was able to just enjoy herself even more and probably deepen the relationships, at least that she got to kind of engage with during that time. Another mistake that Erica told me that I make, but honestly I think she kind of makes this too, is, she said, feeling shy about self-promotion or shy about things that I'm doing creatively. This one's kind of an awkward one to talk about just because it's kind of a weird topic, like how to talk about your accomplishments or what you're doing. I am shy about what I'm working on. I don't tend to like to talk about work in general with other people. I only really talk about it if somebody kind of asks me about it. And even, for example, this YouTube channel, I basically kept a secret for years and would only tell people if it really came up in a conversation and there was just no way around it, or if they happened to come across my channel. More recently, I've obviously been a little bit more open about it, which I'm embracing and loving as I changed my channel name to my real name, Aylin Lesser, and I've told some close friends, but I know that I just need to get over that because ultimately people aren't thinking about me and what I'm doing that much. And somehow when I cringe a lot, I almost make it a bigger deal than it needs to be. I also think that then I'm not just opening up about my life and what I'm doing, and I'm also not promoting myself in a way that's healthy or positive for my life. Like if I'm so cringy about talking about what I do for a living or how I spend my time, I don't know, I feel like that could have negative rippling effects on my life, because if instead I were to present it positively and confidently, maybe it would just come across better. Is that a good way to live my life? Or should I just practice saying it with confidence and being cool with it and being me? And that leads me to the last one that my sister mentioned that I think really relates to all of the ones I've mentioned. But the mistake that I still sometimes make is feeling guilt or shame, and to a degree that's probably not warranted. With all of these mistakes, or even other mistakes I haven't mentioned in my life, sometimes I feel ashamed, I feel guilty, like I should be improving myself better, like I should be performing better, and I feel this low-grade anxiety. And that anxiety sticks with me, and it's to do with feeling guilt, like I should be doing better, or shame, like I don't want anyone to know that I'm imperfect in this way, and I gotta keep it to myself, and I gotta keep it hidden. Clearly, I'm not doing that in this video, but quite often these emotions can be really detrimental and even damaging to people. And I definitely think that for me, that has been the case, that sometimes I feel a lot of guilt for not doing more for other people or not being hyper conscientious, or I have this anxiety after I hang out with a friend that I wasn't kind enough, or I don't know, that I said something that maybe came off wrong. And my hope is that maybe this video normalizes that we are all imperfect, we are all working on ourselves, and we don't need to hold ourselves to a ridiculous standard that we are never going to reach. And we don't have to be working on all our flaws all the time. Like some of these things I'm actively working on. Others of them, maybe I've just kind of accepted that at least right now, I might not be as on top of that. But the important part is to realize that we are human and we don't have to do it all. So anyway, this was a very rambly, chatty video. That is another kind of mistake I continue to make, is overly ramble on these videos. Thank God for my editor, Tara, who does edit me down sometimes. Thank you, Tara. You're really there for me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. For some reason, this video just feels close to my heart in that I'm being super real with you all, and hopefully that resonates. Let me know the types of mistakes you've made that you continue to do in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Doing that is another great way to support the channel. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today, but thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!